Coming up in today's edition of Locked On Eagles, we recap day one of OTAs at the NovaCare Complex, and the Eagles made a lot of moves in the front office today. We'll recap it all right here on your daily Philadelphia Eagles podcast, Locked On Eagles.
You are Locked On Eagles, your daily Philadelphia Eagles podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
We thank you so much for making Locked On Eagles your first listen each and every day. And this show is sponsored by BlueNile.com. I'm Louie DiBiase. He's Gino Camilleri. We've been your daily Philadelphia Eagles podcast now for 4 years, since 2018, Monday through Friday, posting a show for you on the Birds, on all podcast platforms, on YouTube as well, and on Twitter at Locked On Birds, at GC24_football, and at DiBiase LOE. Gino, actually 4 years ago, this coming Sunday, June 5th, is when I started up on Locked On Eagles. You came in, I think, at the end of July, so we've been running 4 years strong, man.
August 21st was the first show.
Yeah, August 21st, and June 5th was the first one for me. And mine was, I think it was Locked On Nelson Aguilar. It was like when I did the player profiles. I think that was my first show ever, was talking about Nelly.
I believe mine was trade candidates, I'm pretty sure is what we talked about on that date. But going into our fifth season now, Lou, this one, out of all of them, I would say outside of the post-Super Bowl season, I have the most anticipation for this year. I think that this team, the expectations are there, the talent is there, they're back on the field already. It feels like the offseason came and went. They're already back in OTAs, and before you know it, training camp is going to be here. I don't know about you, man. I'm ready for this thing to kick off. I don't care about
seeing the tweets today got me going.
I just want to see day one, and I'm ready to rock and roll. A lot to happen before that, but it's good to see football back in Philly.
Gino, let's recap day one of OTAs. Of course, it is only OTAs, 7-on-7s. There weren't a lot of, key players out there today. Lane Johnson wasn't on the field. Fletcher Cox, a couple wide receivers as well. Zach Pascal, Quez Watkins. And again, take everything with a grain of salt in June. Do the same in training camp, i.e. Jalen Reagor last year, the one-handed catch and all of that. So, of course, be careful with overreacting in the summer, but overall, I thought it was a fun, refreshing first day, like you said, just to see football going on again in Southern Philadelphia. But there was some takeaways for sure. I think number one, everybody noticed how improved, and again, it was 1 day of practice, so I'm not saying here comes the breakout, but Jalen Hurts looked really good passing the football. I guess he started, 7 for 8, 9 for 11 in practice on 7-on-7s, a couple deep touchdowns on the right sideline to DeVonta Smith. In coverage was Darius Slay. I guess he made some accurate throws over the middle too. Like, that's a great start. It's great to hear that.
I say from OTAs, the best thing you could take away is preparedness and ready to play. So to go into these 7-on-7s where it's very timing based, you're just going to hit your open routes that'll be there hopefully in a game. You know, Jalen has been in the playbook. He has been working the timing and rhythm with these wide receivers, and rightfully so. He is the guy. He wants to prove that he is the guy, and everybody in that building seems to believe it as well. So the wide receivers are on board, and I would want to take as many reps as I could with Jalen Hurts before the season comes, because with as good as that offensive line is going to be, they're going to be able to develop these routes down the field. That the explosive plays should go through the roof now with A.J. Brown on the field. Let that cannon open up, and that's what we talked about the other day in our show. What do we want to see? We want to see the willingness and the timing going down the field. That's a good first step in the right direction.
I agree.
It shows that he was prepared prior to this. I'm sure as soon as the season ended last year, he was rip-roaring and ready to go.
Well, Shane Steichen said it today, the Eagles offensive coordinator, there is no offseason for Jalen Hurts, and he knows the pressure and the stakes in 2022. Gino, it sounded like DeVonta Smith looked awesome. Burned Darius Slay multiple times. A.J. Brown talked about today in his press conference how the Eagles have 2 wide receiver ones, and I completely agree. It was part of why I didn't get the overreactions when the Eagles at first, weren't trading for a top-tier receiver. We both agreed, they need a receiver, but we didn't think they had to get a star like A.J. Brown. Did we want somebody like A.J. Brown? Hell yeah, so you can have this kind of situation. But DeVonta Smith is a dog. He's wide receiver 1, man. Like, he broke the rookie receiving record in Eagles history last year for a reason on limited targets. He, in year 2, I think is going to make a big leap forward, especially with, as Brown said, AJ taking away a lot of the time a top corner. DeVonta's going to play CB2. You know what I mean? So I want to see, I don't think you would do it, but I want to see if somebody would make a bet with me, DeVonta Smith versus AJ Brown when it comes to yardage in 2022.
I mean, think about the context and what you just said. I haven't even put 2 and 2 together until AJ Brown just said that today. DeVonta Smith falls down the depth chart in terms of what cornerback is going to cover him. In reality, you're going to need, when going up against Green Bay, Jair Alexander is going to cover A.J. Brown. He's going to move all around the field. He's going to be in and out of the slot with him. Oh, and then that leaves DeVonta Smith to go and play against Rasul Douglas.
And we know Zool, one kind of receiver he struggles against, route runners like DeVonta, like Amari Cooper, for sure. So yeah, he's going to be a matchup nightmare for those kind of guys.
And look at what he did last year on the number 1 guys, the Pat Surtains. Arguably the best play of the season against Denver, which we talked about the other day, was going up against a team's number 1 corner in a 50-50 situation, even though he gives up 20, 30 pounds, even on the lightest of cornerbacks. And he can still go up and make plays. And not to mention, Quez Watkins is going to go down to the 3rd cornerback. So that just makes everybody better in this mix. It just makes everybody that more effective and efficient. I would say, and I believe we said it on the live draft show after this happened, if they had 2 1,000-yard receivers this year in A.J. Brown and DeVonta Smith, or
it's up to Hurts.
DeVonta Smith and Dallas Goedert and A.J. Brown's just under 1,000 yards, wouldn't shock me in the slightest.
Well, Goddard should have had 1,000 last year. I mean, he was like 17th, I think, in overall targets for tight ends, and yet he was number 1 in 3rd down receptions turned into a 1st down, had over 800 yards on the year. Like, Goddard's going to be in that race as well, as long as Hurts takes the steps and they don't have to be the 2018 Baltimore Ravens like run-heavy offense they were down the stretch. But really exciting to hear about Smitty for sure, killing it in OTAs today. Gino, another thing too, the look good, play good mentality on the Eagles offense is for real. I noticed Dallas Goedert was wearing a visor today. DeVonta Smith, A.J. Brown, Jalen Hurts. If Miles Sanders puts back on the rookie 2019 visor, this whole skill position group's going to have visors. And you know me, as somebody that loves the look good, play good mentality, the arm sleeves, the visors, big fan of that. This offense is going to have swagger.
Oh, yeah, the jersey analytics this year are going to go through the roof.
I can't wait to tweet about those again, man.
Anytime I bet this team, and we haven't seen the black helmets come out yet.
No, I can't wait. I thought about that today, actually.
I'm giving the Eagles, every time I see them, if they either go blackout or whiteout, I'm going to add a 0.5 point already to what I was betting. So I'm going to believe that they can go a 0.5 point higher than what the line was because of the swagger and the jersey analytics.
Yeah.
You're right, man. The look good, feel good, play good. I said it about Jalen Hurts tongue-in-cheek the other day when we were talking about him. The clips that they're putting out and the pictures they're putting out of this guy. He plays with the swagger, looks the part. That's what you want. You want somebody that can go out there and is cool, calm, and collective. So if you can go out there, I believe, walk into the stadium with that mentality, looking good. You have the freshest clothes on. You're going to walk in there ready to go. I believe it, Lou. I'm with you, man. I can't wait to see how this team does. And it's all going to come from, I believe, and what this whole discussion about the swagger element comes down to is how well these guys get along. They're all really good friends, it seems.
It's a confident group, a lot of leadership, close,
a lot of competitiveness. Like, I love seeing DeVonta Smith and Darius Slay exchange jerseys and go and do the wide receiver cornerback. That's what you want. Iron sharpens iron in the silliest of ways, and little things like that are going to make your team more efficient, more effective, build a culture. That's why I'm excited, ultimately, because this new wave feels like it has come in. The old regime is gone. Like, all of that dark cloud that was there after 2018, 2019, going into 2020.
Well, I mean, they were close, though. That's the reason they won a championship. Were able to pull rabbits out of the hat in 2018 and 2019. I think it got out of hand in 2020, but I do agree. Yeah, like it feels refreshed. It feels close.
Yeah, the stock's going up instead of going down after 17.
Gino, before we take a break and get into some of the front office moves the Eagles made today, and they made a bunch of them, a couple notes on defense and offense, too, when it comes to the depth chart. The starting linebackers today, we were curious to see like who were going to be the starters starting out. We knew Kyzir White was going to be one of them, but then it's like, TJ Edwards made that big step in 2021, but you draft Nakobe Dean in the 3rd round, you get a steal, Davion Taylor. Like, where is he going to be on the depth chart? Today it was, and again, it's only day 1 of OTA, so take all of this with a grain of salt, but it was Kyzir White and TJ Edwards to start. I think it won't be long, though, that Nakobe Dean, like, again, we talked about even the other day, like how Davion Taylor is going to get on the field. I think it's going to be tough for TJ Edwards, too. I think at the end of it, again, it's only June, but Dean and White, I think, are going to lead this team in snaps. What you would agree, right? I mean, I don't think Edwards is an every down linebacker, even for as good as he looked last year. I still think he's a limited player, but he's a great role player, though.
I believe so, because I believe he's going to have to be in coverage more often than not, playing that linebacker position. And I'm not necessarily sure that TJ Edwards is the best option out of Nakobe Dean.
Davion Taylor is probably going to be a better option in coverage, if we're being honest.
Much better. I might say right now, Kyzir White is going to lead this team in tackles.
It's a good bet.
I think he's going to be a favorite of Jonathan Gannon. Week 1, he's going to go out there and make an electric sideline-to-sideline play. I believe he'll be a favorite of the fans.
He's going under the radar right now.
He's gonna break out in a big way.
I agree.
Because how the Eagles defense is going to run up front, it's going to be Jordan Davis taking up space, doesn't get the statistics. But when you look at the box score and you're like, Kyzir White had 15 tackles this game, it all stems because of the guys up front and the athleticism now in that second area, in the short intermediate areas. Play Kyzir White and have a good rotation. I mean, if TJ Edwards, Davion Taylor, and Nakobe Dean split at 33, 33, 33, I wouldn't bat an eye, because Kyzir White's going to be on the field probably 100 out of 100 plays. And that's what you want. They've never had a linebacker that could do that, and they've been searching for that. And they might have lucked into one that didn't get a contract in Los Angeles due to money going elsewhere.
Yeah.
Well, man, oh man, look at the money invested at the linebacker position. They have a backload and tons of rollover minutes for those old enough who know what those are from years past to pay a good linebacker.
And then the last thing on the depth chart, Isaac Sayamalu today, first team right guard. However, with no Lane Johnson, Jack Driscoll did kick over to right tackle. But again, I think the Sayamalu thing we talked about the other day definitely put weight into that, because Shane Steichen in his press conference, when asked about how this right guard position is going to shape up, he did mention Isaac by name instantly and said that he is healthy. So keep a close eye on that. You can find Gino and I's podcast the other day on Wednesday, getting into that right guard battle between Sayamalu and Jack Driscoll. All right, Gino, OTAs was today, day 1, but a lot more happened with the Eagles. They made a bunch of moves in the front office. And even a couple days ago, their son, the son of the Eagles owner, Jeffrey Lurie, Julian Lurie, was also given an official title. So we'll get into all of that coming up next, right here on Locked On Eagles. And guys, today's show is sponsored by Blue Nile. At BlueNile.com, you can celebrate all of life's special moments, from creating the custom engagement ring of her dreams to gifting a classic and timeless jewelry piece, all at prices you won't find at a traditional jeweler. Whether you're ready to pop the question or you're celebrating a milestone moment, find jewelry as unique as her with the modern convenience of online shopping at BlueNile.com. Build the engagement ring of her dreams or celebrate life's special moments with fine jewelry. No matter what you're looking for, Blue Nile has jewelry experts on hand 24/7. Make your moment sparkle with jewelry from BlueNile.com, and Locked On Eagles listeners get $50 off purchases of $500 or more. So save yourself some money. This podcast exclusive includes gate engagements, and use the promo code Locked On. Again, that's promo code Locked On. Plus, every order is insured, ships free, and arrives in discreet packaging that won't give away what's inside. Shop stress-free and find your forever piece. Go to BlueNile.com today. All right, Eagles fans, Louie DiBiase and Gino Camilleri joining you on this Friday edition of Locked On Eagles. And we have an important favor to ask you as well. We've put together a survey so we can learn more about our listeners like you and make your favorite Locked On podcast even better. We always want to improve the shows across the network. This is your opportunity to tell us what you like and don't like about Locked On podcasts. And don't put that I'm not a big fan of Jalen Hurts. We actually want to know your opinions of the real show. Go to lockedonpodcast.com/survey right now to get started. It won't take very long, and everyone that completes a survey can qualify for a chance to win one of 10 $100 Ticketmaster gift cards. So save yourself some money when you spend your money on the tickets to the Monday Night Football game against Washington, or when Doug Peterson comes back with Jacksonville. So you can get a $100 Ticketmaster gift card. Just take the survey at lockedonpodcast.com/survey. We thank you so much for your help. Gino, the Eagles made a bunch of moves. You know, they lost 4 key front office members over the last few months, including Andy Weidel. Just a couple weeks ago, becomes the assistant general manager, right, with the Pittsburgh Steelers. And Catherine Raish left, a bunch of other, top front office members. Well, the Eagles made some moves. And one of the interesting ones, and this is less important, I think, for the now, but for the future is very significant. Jeffrey Lurie's son, Julian Lurie, the 27-year-old son of the owner, was given the title Business and Football Operations Strategy. He's working in that department. And it's interesting because Julian Lurie, you're starting to hear about him more and more. He was spotted with Howie Roseman and Nick Sirianni at the Senior Bowl. He had been working with the league for multiple years, learning the ropes as an eventual successor to his dad. I do just wonder now, I'd imagine this is more just of an advisory role. He's going to shadow and kind of see the day-to-day process as he's been doing all offseason. So I don't have a problem with it, right? I mean, he's going to be the owner eventually. You want him to be ready. I just am interested to see what his role and his input is going to be. That's always something with Lurie I'm always kind of skeptical of. But overall, I mean, this is a kid that grew up in Philadelphia, knows the city. He's passionate about the team, and that's what you want in your owner, right? Or your eventual owner.
You would like to think, and he's been around the team forever. And
yeah.
I believe what he is going to be involved in is the future of how to expand the brand of the Philadelphia Eagles more than anything. I don't believe he'll be in a day-to-day type of role where he's in the building with Howie Roseman going over who the 3 tech is going to be for the future moving forward. I think it'll be more involved in partnerships through the NFL, how to get the Eagles out there, and they're now foreign partnerships that they have with the 3 countries that they were assigned.
Yep.
I believe it's New Zealand, Ghana.
Yep. I can't remember the third one. I knew the one in Africa, which is Ghana. Yeah,
but they have a new partnership there as well, and that's what I believe he'll be doing. And he's going to take over the team one day. And I look at this as a situation down in Jacksonville where Omar Khan has Tony Khan, his son there, or Shad Khan, excuse me. Omar Khan is the general manager of Pittsburgh because we were just talking about that. Yep. Excuse me, but Shad Khan's son Tony, also the head of talent at AEW, the best wrestling on the planet right now. He's also the sporting manager at Fulham, and he has all these other roles. And I think that that's something that Julian will get into, and he'll be a face that's in the building. I'm sure he'll be in the draft room and just learning the ins and outs of being an owner, because look at what Jeffrey does. He's in there as well. Like it or don't like it, he's involved in the day-to-day stuff. So why not have his son learn the ropes now so he's not green when he gets in here? I'm fine with that. If you're going to have a dynasty of ownership, this is the way you want to do it. You don't want to be, I would say, like the Giants, where the Maras, they're all involved to a crazy extent. I think they all have to know their limits, and I hope that's not a place that the Eagles get into where the Giants are now, where the ownership has an extreme amount of power and way too many hands in the pot.
Yeah. I think this is good news for Howie Roseman, too. He's got a lifetime contract now because the young owner is going to trust his dad's old right-hand man. So I can't imagine how he's going anywhere anytime soon. But, Gino, and more important news for the now when it comes to front office moves, the Eagles made a number of promotions today, promoting Alec Hallaby and John Ferrari to assistant general manager positions. So Hallaby was an assistant to the GM, like Dwight Schrute to Michael Scott, from 2012 to 2015, before being named the VP of Football Operations and Strategy in 2016. He's got an analytics background, Gino, as does, Julie Lurie, I heard, has also been really studying analytics. Ferrari has an analytics background. It's analytics central right now with Weidel out at the top of this front office. Most of the scouts are answering to non-football people, if you will. I don't want to use a Chip Kelly comparison because I think analytics people are football people, but you know what I mean. So definitely interesting to see that dynamic. And then also Connor Barwin was named to a promotion as well as their director of player development. So a bunch of moves made today. And it is interesting to see that they don't really have a number 2 now like Weidel. It's more of a by committee approach, but below Howie.
And I think it was going that way. If you have seen and followed how much that front office has expanded, it's turned more into, I would say, like different sectors that all kind of bottle up to Howie Roseman. You'll have your analytics sector, you'll have your operations sector, you'll have your player personnel, both college and pro, and then they'll all have a director who will then answer to Howie Roseman. And it seems that that's the way it's setting up right now. And the more people you can enlighten in the way that you do things, the more people that you could give hands-on day-to-day tasks to and get more involved in the front office to know and keep the flow going so that when turnover does happen like it did the past couple months or so, you don't lose pace because you have somebody below that person that you can promote. And a lot of these promotions in-house came because people got promoted elsewhere and they were good in their jobs here. So you have to have this continuous wheel, this continuous feeder system, this front office factory, as some would say, to keep things going. And they're going in a direction that they are one of the most forward-thinking teams in terms of analytics. They're taking multiple different approaches in terms of draft philosophies. Dave Caldwell, I believe, also just got a promotion.
He took Tom Donahoe's role as the senior personnel director. Okay. So yeah, Caldwell moved up the ranks as well. Yeah.
So you're bringing in all of these different individuals from different backgrounds, from different teams over the past decade or so. Howie Roseman is a guy who is open to absorbing new ideas and new philosophies. This is just going to add to what they can do inside the personnel department.
Yeah, as long as it's all cohesive. As long as it's all cohesive, because a few years ago, there was that big story that came out from The Athletic, how the analytics department's doing their own thing. They've got their own board, and the scouts and the football people, if you will, they've got their own thing, and the coaches and the GM, and of course, Lurie's got his own say, and that takes precedent. And it just felt like there was too many cooks in the kitchen. Even that felt like a lot of different things. Like there were too many cooks in the kitchen with the coaching staff too, with how they handpicked Doug Staff for him in 2020. So I'm totally cool. Like analytics are extremely important in the world of sports. Not going to be an old man that says don't use analytics. The Eagles won a Super Bowl in large part because of their open-mindedness to analytics. Like, Gino, they had sports informations and solutions, I believe, like in Doug Peterson's ear, like when it comes to fourth down decisions. He was so aggressive that year, and most of that had an analytics backbone. As long as it's cohesive and everybody's on the same page, and there's not differing philosophies, if everybody's got the same goal and the same mindset and they complement each other as it should, and as you said, I think it is right now, everybody feels like they're in sync, then totally cool with it. So, but a bunch of moves. It's also cool to see Connor Barwin working up the ranks in the front office. Very respected, just like he was when he was a leader of that defense in 2013 and 14.
I believe that's a great position for him, head of player development. And if you follow Connor Barwin and what he's done off the field from the second that he stepped foot in Philadelphia, he is a leader. He's part of an organization that they build playgrounds all around the city. He's just somebody that is in the wrinkles of Philadelphia, and that's how you want to get your players involved. And if you have a tight-knit bond with the community, you just play that much harder for those people that pay for that ticket every Sunday, that in turn pay your contract. So why not have Connor Barwin, somebody who's well-respected in both player development, in terms of scouting. He was an assistant to Howie a couple of years ago. I saw him at the Senior Bowl back in 2019, excuse me. He has been around this team, and he went out west to play for the Rams that one year. He played for the Giants, but Philly is his home. He really does love this place, and I'm happy to see him still here. And I love to see them continue to bring back more people. If Chris Long,
it did. I mean, like Darren Sproles was a part of the front office. Yeah, Chris Long would be a
I think
idea.
Chris Long would be a fantastic, like, just like head of player
I don't think
morale
he wants to,
or something.
I think he's enjoying being the new like Pat McAfee in media for sure with his podcast. But yeah, I totally agree. Love when former Eagles get involved in other ways. Gino, for the current team, sounds like Shane Steichen's going to be calling plays. The Eagles offensive coordinator. We'll get into that coming up next. First, though, a shout out from our guys over at Bet Online.
Of course, we have the official sportsbook of the Locked On Podcast Network and Locked On Eagles right at the tip of our fingers. You go on your mobile device or you clickety-clack on your keyboard and go to betonline.net today. It's the easiest, seamless, most efficient and effective sportsbook interface that I've ever used. And folks, let me tell you, I was sports betting way before I should have been sports betting. Get informed, stay up to date on all the news, and you could do that right on the app. If you want to make a wager, before you do so, do a little research right on betonline.net. They'll hook you up with all of the scores of the game. They'll hook you up with any future line. They'll hook you up with any sport you can imagine. I'm telling you, go through the list of sports they have. It's crazy. And best of all, their player props are above any other website I have ever seen. So today, go to the betonline.net, the official sportsbook of the Locked On Podcast Network and Locked On Eagles. Bet responsibly and go win some money on your favorite sport today with the official sportsbook of the Locked On Eagles podcast.
All right, everybody, we thank you so much for making Locked On Eagles your first listen each and every day. We're wrapping up this Friday edition of the show, recapping OTAs, getting into all the front office moves the Eagles made today. It's been a pretty busy day. I mean, the news never stops.
We missed the most important news of the day, though, Lou, when it comes to OTAs. And it came from the Eagles' first overall pick in this draft, Jordan Davis, saying that his favorite food that he has had in Philadelphia,
cannolis.
Out of everything, is a cannoli.
We're the most Italian Eagles podcast. So of course, we got to bring up the cannolis.
Jordan Davis, you are welcome anytime to come on this show and talk Italian food with us.
I love
any day of the week. Jordan Davis looks slimmed down a little bit.
He definitely lost a lot.
In shape right now,
which is good. I think he wants to improve his pass rushing ability. He wants to be on the field all 3 downs. Love to see that. Lay off the cannolis, though, if you're going to do that. Man. That might not be the right food choice if you're going to try.
Hey, he had to try something when he got to the great Italian city of Philadelphia.
Oh, yeah. Hell yeah. Gino, Shane Steichen, the Eagles offensive coordinator, he's going to be calling plays, as he announced today at his press conference. And some people
continuing to call plays.
Yeah, so that's the thing. Like, I think some people that kind of went under the radar last year, halfway through the season, I think everybody assumes when there's an offensive-minded coach, they're going to call the plays. That was initially how it started off with Nick Sirianni, but they made a switch. And I'm not to say that Sirianni was holding them back with play calling, but I like that Sirianni recognized they needed to switch things up, a fresh perspective with the play calling. He can work on everything else that it takes to be a head coach. Of course, he still has heavy influence in the game planning and the play calls. But yeah, Steichen actually did call plays down the stretch of the season. And again, that's so crucial that, cohesiveness, that consistency for Jalen Hurts. He's mentioned it himself. That's going to be so important just overall for not just Hurts, but this entire team to have all these coaches on the same page and just continuing what they were already doing last year. Very important. And that hasn't really happened since 2017 because, Doug lost Reich and DeFilippo, and then Groh and Walsh didn't work, and then Howie and Jeff are throwing him different coaches. So it's good to have this consistency and this cohesion with Steichen calling plays, and him and Sirianni are on the same page. So that's a great sign for Hurts and for this entire offense.
The self-awareness of Nick to say, hey, if I could take a step back, still be heavily involved in the game plan. Like when you see a guy go in motion and then you see a crazy little bubble screen to your tight end, and then out behind him drops another player. It all comes down to what they do in the building week in and week out. It all comes down to Nick Sirianni having a game plan, having the leadership ability to know what they're going to do week in and week out. But if he could take it, there's a fly literally right in front of me. I can't believe this. I'm shocked that people don't see him on the camera right here. But no pun intended, Nick Sirianni is buzzing around all game, right?
That was great.
He's up and down the field. He has to know situations. He has to know, okay, it's 1st and 10. We just took a penalty. what's going to set up our next play and our next play to get to a third down play.
Right.
Let him be the manager while Shane Steichen is being the guy who seems to have the best hand-in-hand coordination with Jalen Hurts right now. So continue that route. Don't force something that isn't working. Hats off to Nick for putting Shane in that situation. I'm sure that Shane is happy to have that title now. Now that you have an official offensive coordinator, you got the checks and balances all across the board.
Yeah.
Nick can really step back and take that 30,000-foot look at it without having to say, yeah, it might be my fault. We can all kind of put a little bit of blame in this together and all work to move forward without it just being on the hands of your head coach doing everything.
And I didn't even think it was Sirianni's fault, really, Gino, when it comes to like the bad play calls, or I thought the game plans early on. Yeah, like you shouldn't have thrown as much as they did, but they didn't know that. They were trying to figure out what they had in their quarterback, in their offense as a whole. And then Sirianni, Steichen, they were self-aware enough to make the change halfway through with play calls and with, what they were actually calling. So overall, like I didn't think there was like a huge issue with, I think it was execution, and they learned what worked execution wise on the field and what didn't. And they made the correct adjustments, and Steichen calling plays definitely going to help that for sure. So definitely interesting to see that. And that's going to be huge for Jalen Hurts, especially as he takes that step. Had a big first day in OTAs. It's going to continue to roll each and every day. Soon before you know it, training camp's coming up, the preseason. Subscribe to the Locked On Eagles podcast, where your only daily Philadelphia Eagles podcast, posting shows 5 days a week. Also, we're available on YouTube in video form, so we got exclusive video content on YouTube, and we're always talking birds on Twitter. Hit us up at Locked On Birds, at DiBiase LOE, and at GC24_football. Thank you so much for making Locked On Eagles your first listen each and every day. Now make sure the Locked On NFL podcast is your second listen. Our national NFL experts and insiders keep fans dialed in with the biggest stories and the latest news from around the league, because an offseason doesn't equal a break in the action, as you can tell. Follow Locked On NFL every day on the Odyssey app, YouTube, and wherever you get your shows. For Gino Camilleri, I'm Lou DiBiase signing off. Thank you so much for downloading. Thank you so much for listening and watching. And let's go, Birds.
Fly, Eagles, fly.